Hi guys, and welcome to this week's BartenderHQ.com podcast, and on this week's show I have a very, very special guest. I'm joined this week by Russell Davis from Bar Rescue over in the States. He's a former Bartender of the Year with the Nightclub Bar Show and has won numerous awards. He has his own consultancy business called Unlimited Liabilities, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this conversation with him, so let's get right on with it.
Welcome to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ. Here's your host, David Eden-Sangwell.
Hi guys, and welcome to BartenderHQ.com podcast. And joining me today is Russell Davis from Bar Rescue over in the States. Hi, Russell.
How's it going, David?
And I'm delighted to have him joining me today. We just kind of caught up on Twitter, I think. We were just chatting about some stuff, and and here we are.
I appreciate you reaching out. Actually, it's really great. I'm it's just nice to be doing something in a time when people even want to talk to you about what you do.
Yeah, man, definitely. And I mean, I only got into Bar Rescue probably about a month ago. I think I've watched them all now.
Awesome.
So I'm up to date. But yeah, just first and foremost, do you want to just give everyone a bit of an idea of your background and how you got into bartending and to where you are now?
Yeah, it goes pretty far back. I got into bartending. I always had a love for the movie Cocktail, even in high school. And I got into bartending back in college, and it was a way to pay for college, and also I would sit in my dorm room and learn all the tricks from Cocktail. But I bartended in Austin for many, many years. Learned on 6th Street, and actually what a lot of people don't realize is 6th Street in Austin after Hurricane Katrina. Originally it was Bourbon Street that has more bars, nightclubs, and restaurants per capita in the U.S., but after Hurricane Katrina, it actually switched over to Austin. So 6th Street became it was already a very iconic bar and legendary bar street, but it became a very crazy town right after that. And I was bartending in that time frame. And so I did that for many years. It's interesting because I've left the industry 3 times and come back to it. It always called me back, and then I'm glad it did this last time, especially. But then what I ended up doing was really kind of sticking with it, focusing on being able to do a showmanship style bartending. I don't really, flair is definitely a word, but I'm not the same style flair that you see a lot of other people do. And I don't want to say working flair because I feel like the term working flair is almost overused. But it's definitely a style of showmanship bartending that I mix with speed. And then when the mixology kind of movement started happening, I really kind of grabbed that bull by the horns. So in 2010 and 2011, I was ranked top 3 in the country with the Nightclub and Bar organization. And then in 2012, I actually won Bartender of the Year, and I got moved out from Texas to San Francisco to Bourbon and Branch and to Rick House. And in Rick House, I was there when I was in 2011 and then 2012. So in 2012, I actually won Bartender of the Year at Rick House. And then Rick House, we won Top High Volume Cocktail Bar in the world that tells the cocktail. Yeah, so it was one of those. We won the first award ever for Top High Volume Cocktail Bar. So it was kind of cool. And so it was really just nice because there was a lot of really cool stuff going on. I was in San Francisco, and you could just feel this energy of the industry, and you could feel these rock stars being made out of certain people from around the world, really. And you could start seeing them kind of come up, and then you had the mentors, and luckily I was in this generation, which bartender generations are very different than the rest of the generations because we have a much shorter lifespan as far as professionally, but I was really lucky. So yeah, man, I took that and went into Bar Rescue, got pulled into Bar Rescue, and have done that. Just got done filming my 16th, 17th episode. Got to film a couple more, and then and then I've got a lot of other stuff in the works, including a space project where I'm on a team of experts creating the first cocktail glass, first cocktail and drink mixing mechanism to be in zero gravity for essentially the space hospitality industry. Yeah, and then my consulting company and limited liabilities, I've expanded, got some great people underneath me, including my VP of projects, who's Kate Gerwin, the first female world champion bartender ever.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so we're just kind of rocking and rolling, man, trying to elevate bartending and take this, being a hooker was the world's oldest profession. Being a bartender was the second, and I want to elevate it to a level it's never been.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I want to talk about this cocktails in space thing, right? Because I saw this on Facebook, I guess yesterday, the day before. It's not been out there for too long, I don't think. But I had no idea it was anything to do with you until, like, later that day. And then I was like, oh, there's Russ. So I was like, oh, cool. That's something else we can have a chat about. So, I see this thing, and it's going to have a valve in the bottom, and you basically, I guess you're going to put a pouch onto there, are you, with the drink? Or?
Well, what it was originally, we've been working on the project for 3 years.
Okay.
I had met these guys that had built a robot called Cosmobot that was a bartending robot. I had to compete against them in 2000 and I can't remember if it was 2011 or 2012, but I had to compete against them in a humans versus robot bartender competition at Portland, Portland Cocktail Week. And and so, after the competition, we kind of got together because, we were the kind of champions of it. And we looked at each other and they were like, you want to do the first cocktail for space? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I was already a little lit up by then. Anybody says that at that point, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But then getting to know them and figuring out, oh crap, these guys are serious and that they had the expertise to do it. Not just the expertise, but we're actually tied in the space industry.
Yeah.
Very much so. So we just kept on rolling with it. And then it got to a point where we realized that this glass was almost significant and symbolic of a larger company. And not just symbolic of the company, but also what was a great celebration of what the last frontier for mankind is, and so we've launched a larger company called the Cosmic Lifestyle Corporation, what ultimately I'm the CEO of now.
Right.
I'm on these Skype calls with these guys that are rocket scientists and astronauts and the founders of the Space Frontier Foundations, and I'm just thinking, I'm the bartender mixologist, just thinking, don't say anything stupid, But we designed this glass that's kind of the symbol of the project, which utilizes the physics of, first, it's 3D printed, which is very much the way that the space industry is going. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't realize that space tourism is a huge thing right now. Virgin Galactic has been charging $250,000 tickets, and they've already sold well over 700 or 800 tickets for Virgin Galactic already. You have Elon Musk, you have multiple other people within different companies, SpaceX, Bigelow Industries, that are creating things that are space hotels, ways to get to space that are now privately funded and privately done. Space is now a private industry. It's a $315 billion a year industry. And we are trying to use this to capture the hospitality industry of what space is, because not only is it going to apply to the space tourists, but it's going to apply to the space private consumers that are the workers there. And they're going to need, quite frankly, an easier, more enjoyable way to live for extended periods of time. Now, 3D printing, we just put the first 3D printer on the International Space Station. So in the future, factories are going to be built using 3D printing. They're going to have 3D printing factories that will build everything to do in space. We're not going to take things to space. We're going to send a file and then print it in space. And that's the future. So we're using that technology in order to build this. And then what we've done is we've also used the physics of surface tension, basically what the same thing is like the meniscus of liquids. Yeah. And created these angles that uses an angle in physics called the wetting angle. Now, the certain degree of this angle in zero gravity will draw liquids and carry them just over the course of this angle, almost like a pipeline. Yeah. Nonstop in zero gravity, just by the physics of it. It naturally, utilizing the surface tension, it's called a capillary action of this wetting angle, draws the liquids. So all of the grooves that we've created in this glass is trying to create that Terra experience for the consumer, so that we're able to hold liquids in this glass without a top so you can still smell it. And yet the liquids are being drawn to the side in zero gravity and it won't spill out. And luckily we got the first, one of the first prototypes on a zero gravity parabolic flight in Japan for a company called Astrax. And we were able to prove that the initial physics and everything of the glass works with water. So now we're actually in the process of talking to some liquor brands, and we are in talks with one specifically, but that we will be creating what's essentially the first cocktail mixed in space.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, I got to say that the first thing that I want to see is you flaring on one of these parabolic flights. Zero-G flare is going to be something that's going to be all completely new moves.
It's so easy.
You're never going to drop anything. But yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. And if you've not seen this at home, you need to have a quick look. I'll put the link into the show notes. But basically, you've got a martini glass with grooves into the top of it, and the way that it works is kind of like half of a straw, but the surface tension kind of completes the straw. Is that's kind of the very basic way of talking about it.
Yeah, the surface tension keeps it in, and then the wetting angle with the capillary action draws it up that groove like a straw. You know, it's essentially it's crazy that we're even able to do this, and to even think that this is our reality right now is pretty amazing.
These are the big problems of space. How do I have a martini? So I mean that's really awesome, and it does just sort of blow your mind. It's like, well, this year's Back to the Future year, right? This is when we go to in Back to the Future, so why not?
Space and tea is going to be huge this year.
Space and tea. Cool, man. So yeah, with Bar Rescue, so you were in there right from the first season, right?
No, I actually got brought on to Bar Rescue on season 3.
Okay.
But now I've become the expert. That's pretty much I've done most of the episodes. I'm the ringer of sorts, so I'm the kind of guy you bring in for the tough ones. So.
Cool, no worries. And what's your favorite bar?
What's that?
What's the favorite bar that you've actually worked on and rescued?
You know, I can't say that I have a favorite because they each one of the families, one of the staffs, they've resonated differently. Some of them not so much. Unfortunately, sometimes you walk away and you've helped someone, but it's not always the right person, per se. But you always feel good about trying to help someone and dig them out of that kind of situation. And then sometimes you really connected with the staff to where they become like a second family to you. And there's a few of them for me that's been that way, but particularly one has been the Jack's Fire Department episode. Those 3 brothers were just amazing guys. The entire family was amazing. I still, the daughter, Catherine, is a good friend. I text her, and we text back and forth, just keeping in contact, and she's kind of like my pulse into the family still. And Brian McGowan and Chris and the whole family. Actually, and I ended up even staying with them for a couple of days after the show was filmed and everything, just because they're just such good people, and it was really, we took a fire truck and we chopped that bad boy up, and we put the front of a fire truck on the back bar, and the entire place looked great. We felt good about everything. The family were amazing people, and it was really just, that one felt great. That one felt really good. And especially because there were 3 firefighters. Brian he was really a hero. He'd been awarded for getting 2 babies out of a fire. Whoa. So these weren't bad people. They just didn't know how to operate the bar then.
Yeah. No, there's sort of 2 different camps. Well, there's more than that even on Bar Rescue, where you've got the guys that kind of don't care that it's such a state, some of them, and then there's others where they're really struggling and really fighting to try and get it working, but they just don't have the knowledge, and it's really weird. Like, you really root for some of the guys, and then others you're just like, just leave. Just leave them to it.
I think to the root of that is that, I think deep down that no one really doesn't care. Very rarely does someone really not care. I feel like the not caring is more of a defense mechanism.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I try to see through that. And to me, that's what motivates me, because I have to keep myself motivated too. You know, I try to put my heart into it. And so to keep my heart into it, I try to, you know, if I ever thought that they didn't care, it'd be really hard for me to keep my heart into it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's thinking of it as the defense mechanism, which is understandable, but it's breaking through that. That's the tough part. But John's really great at doing that. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, what's your kind of relationship with the other experts on the show? Do you end up meeting up with the other guys the other bar experts, for example? Do you guys have like an end of season rap party, or you get together?
We actually need to. You know, the weird thing is I don't think we've ever had an end of a season. It seems like every time we get to an end of a season that, you know, people love the show, and so we end up keep on going. And so we have, even though it might say the end of the season, I think we're still filming into the next sometimes. You know, the other experts, some of them I have not met before. Some of them I have pretty great relationships with, actually. And then a couple of them I actually do a lot of work with. Kate Gerwin specifically, she is the VP of projects for my company in Limited Liabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of them, you know, it just depends. There have been so many of them now that I can't remember specifically some of the ones that, there are some of them that I definitely just can't remember, ring a bell offhand. But yeah, a lot of them I definitely have close relationships with. But Kate Gerwin specifically, she's the first female world champion bartender, and her and I have been great friends for a long time. And I've also, you know, the production company that casts Bar Rescue is called Meadow Flowers Media. And I work with them to try to help them find people. So sometimes I'm able to bring them experts to the table and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I did notice actually on your Facebook page that you've teased a bit of a project with Chef Brian Duffy.
Well, we were
in January.
Duffy and I have always played around. We just, you know, Duffy and I are really good friends. We're the guys that when we were filming Bar Rescue together, we would take, you know, we have that one day, that 36 hours where we have basically off-site training, and then we have, you know, 20 hours to ourselves, 24 hours to ourselves as they're doing the renovations. And Duffy and I would use that time to absolutely destroy towns. You know, we just, you know, just have a great time, just bar hopping, and just, you know, whenever Bar Rescue would come to these towns too, it's like the circus comes to town.
Yeah, well,
I showing up, we just, you know, shake up at everything. It was awesome.
I know what you consultants are like, actually. I opened a bar in Dubai a few years back on the Palm, and we had a guy with us called Andrew Mullins, who, you know Andrew?
I've heard the name.
Yeah. He's a absolutely outstanding consultant, and the stuff that we put together, we were doing, you know, molecular stuff, we were doing foams, we were doing all kinds of stuff. But the amount
Dubai is amazing market. Too.
Yeah. But I mean, this guy, when he got together with the sommelier for the hotel, these guys just ripped the place up.
Yeah, that's how it is. Work hard, play hard. Yeah.
Yeah, some superb times. So yeah, that was really cool. But I'm glad to hear that you guys get to party a bit as well while you're over there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, as far as a project together, we just can't seem to line up our schedules and everything. It seems like we're just so busy that we just can't, you know, get it to happen or get it. Just nothing's. It's not that we're against it, and we're always open to something, but nothing is kind of seen, you know, made its way out there yet.
No, it'd be great to see you guys get something together and working on.
We keep on telling each other that we need to do something. Now, I do have something that I'm talking to Ryan Scott from Top Chef about, that we might pair up and do something in LA. It's you know, we're just now beginning to talk about it. I'm not even sure if I should be saying this now, but, you know, we're looking at doing something. We might start casting some, you know, a lot of times what I found out now is a great thing to do with social media that just kind of changed the game of this industry is sometimes it's great just to cast lines out there and see what you pull back. And that's what I think what we're going to do with Ryan, you know, see what kind of interest is out there.
Cool. Well, I mean, this is just between us anyway. Nobody else is going to hear this, so that's fine. I won't tell anyone. And we're going to cut it off just there because the conversation was quite a long one. We chatted for about 40 minutes, and I like to keep these to about 25 minutes a show. So we're going to cut it there, and we'll pick this up again next week on BartenderHQ.com podcast with part 2 of the interview with Russell Davis from Bar Rescue. Until then, guys, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the podcast in general, please leave us a review on iTunes. 5 stars would be great, but just leave us an honest review and it will help more people find the show. Also share it with any friends that you have. Feel free to share it on Facebook. I will be more than happy. Tweet about it. Tell everyone that you know that would be interested. And I will see you next week on the BartenderHQ.com podcast for part 2 with Russell Davis from Bar Rescue.
Thanks for listening to the BartenderHQ.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at BartenderHQ.